All right.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Joel.
How's it going?
I'm Jason Jordan, and that's my brother Joel Jordan. We're identical twins. We have a company out of Brooklyn, New York called Earth Program Music. We operate in music distribution, music publishing, consulting, music technology, artist and label development, business development for artists and labels.
Yeah, we have a cute little studio called Great Hair in Flatbush, Brooklyn.
That's right.
Yep, and we run a podcast out of there weekly called Music Twindustry, which you're viewing right now at home. Thank you. And we have a nice little audience here in, where are we? Charlotte, North Carolina. Where are we?
The
Charlotte,
best
North
city
Carolina.
in the world. Where are we?
We're on tour right now. We'd like to take the time to thank our guests and also introduce yourselves. And please tell us what you do and where you work and all that jazz, if you don't mind.
Should I kick us off?
Yeah, you start us off.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Byrne. I'm Director of Publishing at TuneCore, and I also have a small boutique artist management company called All Black Management. And I don't know, I've been at TuneCore about 7 years. I'm on the publishing team, as I said. I can't play a damn thing, but I love music. I'm a huge fan, and that's kind of where my love for the industry comes from, so yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diana Akin Scarfo. I am the VP of Creative Services at CSAC Performing Rights. I'm based in Nashville, but I do work the New York market as well, and Atlanta. But yes, I work directly with the songwriters and the publishers that work with our songwriter affiliates. So I love music as well. I consume quite a bit of it. And, you know, I grew up singing and doing choir and musical theater, but no, I'm on the business side for sure now. But yeah, cool. Happy to be here.
My name is Sudd. Some may know me as DJ E. Sudd. I'm from High Point, North Carolina, now stationed down in Charlotte. I own a studio out here called No Stress Sound Academy. I DJ. I'm on the road. Been touring with 2 Chainz since 2010. What else? I have an artist. His name is Anella. He signed to Def Jam. I also have another artist named Asher Saint. He's from Charlotte, North Carolina. Signed him 3 weeks ago. Very excited about him. Killer. I love music like everybody else said. I think I love catching music early. I love artist development, and yeah.
Excellent.
I'm
glad everyone loves
artist
music.
development. There's none of that anymore.
We often meet people who say, like, I'm not into music, and I'm like, that's like, I'm not into oxygen. I don't like breathing. Breathing's overrated. Yeah. All right, well, let's kick this thing off.
You're doing management, Sudd? Is that right? You're doing management as well as creating?
I started off as management, but, you know, when I opened my wallet, I guess that pretty much turned into the label. So, yeah, as I've gotten older and learned the business more, it's like, no, you're not a manager, you're a label. You know? So, yeah, I was playing the management role for Anella as well, but, you know, now I have a co-management. I have a partner now, somebody else that believes just as much as I do in him. And, yeah. But I do play the management role. Awesome.
Yeah, I always think managers should work harder than the artists, or, you know, as hard.
Equally as hard.
Equally as hard.
It takes a team.
A role.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. So, first question. As a producer or artist, how important is owning your masters and your publishing today?
Let's start with Sudd, actually. I'm interested in what he has to say.
Yeah, I think that's everything. That's what's going to be here forever. You know, it's very important, but I do understand the business side as well. If you want to take it to another level, you know, or if you need the money, that's also very important as well. But overall, I think that's the goal, is to, you know, gain that leverage to where you are owning these things. I know some of the artists that I've been affiliated with, at first deal or so, they didn't own their masters, but as they got to put a lot of work in and start selling those records, you know, they were able to go back and renegotiate.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Becky DeVries, before she was on a panel earlier today, and she talked about the right deal at the right time. So as much as it is important to own your assets for as long as you possibly can, there is a right deal at the right time, potentially. So, like, I think the more important piece is, you know, understanding what an asset is and how it functions for you, and then how you can use that to leverage, you know, whatever it is you want to move into, or, you know, to do differently or grow or whatever.
It might be good to point out, too, that as a songwriter, you are automatically self-published. you own your own publishing as soon as you write that song and you register it. So you do have the leverage and the cards in that moment to eventually sign up with a publisher, administrator, or whatever. But you are self-published from the moment that song is created, just automatically. So.
Also, I think maybe just a point to throw out at the beginning is everyone aware like the difference between a sound recording and a composition, and they are two separate functioning assets?
Can you explain it a little bit deeper for everyone?
Yeah, it's lesser understood, but like when you talk about your masters or your publishing, what you're talking about is your sound recording or your compositions. So it's the written material, right? That's what's concerned with publishing, CSAC, et cetera. But when you talk about distribution or, getting stuff on a label, like that's your sound recording. And of course there's, gray in the middle there. A lot of companies are doing a lot of different things now, but if you own something, what you own is two separate assets that can be managed separately or together. So it's good to understand that landscape.
Right. Yeah, I mean, unless you're like Bruce Springsteen, back in the day, you were like not owning your masters or like when Jason was at Columbia and whatnot, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, 100% of zero is zero last time I checked. So, there is, like Sudd was saying, there is a moment in time, especially now, where if you have the leverage, you're able to actually own your stuff, even on a major label. So, depends on how much they want you. And the renegotiation is awesome. Commercial success leads to flexibility.
All right, my turn to talk?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So what are the key differences between publishing admin and a co-publishing deal?
For me?
Yeah,
Sure.
Anybody.
So effectively, when you work with a publishing administrator, you're working with someone who's taking care of the paperwork, right? So like a TuneCore Publishing or Song Trust, if you guys heard of them, a competitor, just kidding. But our job is to make sure that the registrations get processed effectively without owning any part of that asset. Co-publishing agreements can vary, but generally speaking, what you're doing is sharing ownership of that compositional asset with a company, with a partner, and then those deals get negotiated differently than they would if you simply own them. So usually the admin term is more flexible, shorter, lower commission rates, like things like that give you that sort of flexibility as a songwriter. But what you don't have is maybe the creative services or getting put into the writers' rooms, getting the opportunities that a co-publisher can offer you and should be doing. Like that's the benefit of working with someone and giving away part of something you own is that you're getting support, you're getting that help.
I guess that leads to my next question. Should indie artists start their own publishing companies or they should, and their labels, or should they partner up? I mean, that's always been it's
a valid question.
Yeah,
I think it's, people make it way more difficult than it needs to be.
Right.
Like as you said, once you write a song and put it out, you own it. You are self-published. Like you own what that is, right? So, do you need to like pull together entities and LLCs and lawyers? Maybe eventually, but if you're day one, it's going to be very cost inefficient. Mm-hmm. So it's the right thing at the right time. But I think when you're just starting out, arming yourself with the education of what it is that you are doing and who can take pieces and who can't and who's entitled to what, if anything, understanding that landscape is going to be where you start, never mind starting a company. But that can come later, certainly.
I mean, it's typical for someone to set up a self-publishing entity at CSAC or any of the PROs under their social security number as a sole proprietorship. Like you don't have to have an LLC or whatever, is what she was referencing. So it can be as easy as that, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, what does a PRO actually do and what do they collect?
PROs, yes. Examples of PROs, CSAC, ASCAP, BMI, GMR. A couple of those are private. We're private, for-profit. ASCAP, BMI is no. Yeah, so
BMI
wait a
got
minute.
bought,
Hold on,
so
my spiel.
ASCAP's the only true
is,
independent.
ASCAP is, not-for-profit. So,
Profit.
so PROs represent the performing right, and the performing right is when music is performed publicly, and this is in the United States, and publicly means on radio, or TV shows, or films playing on TV, or live performance, or in a restaurant, or at a festival. So anywhere that music is being performed publicly, either live or a recording that's being played publicly, that is the performance right. And we enter into licenses, like blanket licenses with all of these different entities and organizations and radio music licensing and TV music licensing and live music venues, so that we can then pay our songwriters and publishers who represent those songwriters the performance royalty. And it's based on song registrations that we receive from the publishers or the self-administered songwriter. And based on the shares that are represented within those, we pay our CSAC songwriters and publishers royalties, the performance right royalty.
Right.
So
Excellent. How do we educate songwriters that are just starting, even ones that are established as artists, to actually register their work? You know what I mean? Like, so there's an education gap there as well, is that they're missing royalties, whether it's mechanicals, whether it's performance, because they just think, I'm going to upload this through a platform, I'm going to get on Spotify or Apple Music or Deezer or Tidal or whatever it is, and everything's going to be cool. And then they just realize that, wait, I'm missing more than half the pie, right?
education can be driven by, do you want to be paid?
There you go. Right. Okay.
It's like, do you want the money?
Right.
Okay, please register your works with us and make sure that, your friend registered it at BMI does not mean it's going to get registered for you automatically
Unless
at
you
the
registered
other.
100%.
Underscore that, actually. 'Cause,
Right. I've had that question a lot, and it's very disappointing, and I hate to even have to tell them that. They're like, oh, I thought it would automatically just be given to you. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way, because, they're a BMI writer or they're an ASCAP writer or whatever, their publisher, or they are registering it there, and you need to go into your portal and you need to register it, or your administrator or co-publisher needs to register it for you. It doesn't automatically happen that way.
And I think also it's use the tools. There are a lot of tools available to make your life easier, right? So, if you use something like an administrator, right, which is like low stakes, low commitment, it's a really easy way for you to say, not have to register directly with your PRO, which is its own task, right? And there are 240 plus of these all over the world, right? So if you're confident in yourself and your career that you're gonna get play in the United States, you're gonna get play in Singapore, you're gonna get Australia, your music's gonna get heard places, you need to make sure your bases are covered, and that's the advantage of using something like an administrator, because it's comprehensive, hopefully. We are. But, understanding that it's hard enough to be a songwriter and be an artist, and there's so much to do. Like, there are ways to do things in an easier way than registering here and registering with the MLC and making sure, always, like, the checklist is like distribution, publishing, sound exchange, socials. Like, for me, I think that's kind of like to make sure these are covered. But, and I said this to you on the call, publishing is kind of like a gate-kept part of the industry, and it's lesser understood, and it's designed that way.
Right.
And I'm sure that, Universal or Warner or whoever would probably take issue with me saying that, but it's complicated on purpose, and that purpose is to ask you out of your own money.
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do is figure out, okay, who are the players? What do they do? Like, what's a PRO versus an administrator versus sound exchange versus a label of distributor?
Right.
Because we all do different functions. But covering and checking those boxes and making sure, okay, well, if I'm going to use an administrator to make sure that my songs are registered with CSAC, with GEMA in Germany, with SOCAN in Canada, wherever, it's a lot easier to use a tool to do that as opposed to trying to do it all yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
It's a lot
That's
of
why
work.
I
And
have a
that's
job.
that's the thing, is artists are their own businesses, right?
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of artists I've worked with have been horrible business people. And that unfortunately comes with part of the game, and that's why, an effective manager or a producer that's actually in the studio co-producing or co-writing, really, at the end of the day, taking care of this stuff, whether it's a production company, a label, a management company, your own publishing administrator. I mean, there are these 4 or 5 things that need to be checked every single time. It can be intense. It takes people away from what they think their work really is, but that is the work. After you've written a song, your song has value if you release it, right? If it's sitting on your own hard drive, like, God bless you, you gotta actually release the music. And then there are the royalties to collect. So, do you take care of stuff, Sudd? How do you work on that?
I do take care of some things, but like you said, after a while, and with me being an artist, producer myself, I do have a team that helps take care of things,
Okay, good.
So that's why,
Very cool.
It's teamwork makes the dream work.
Indeed. Yeah.
I have a question. How do you, as an artist, like, for writers and producers, how should you handle splits and when? And Does it kill the vibe?
Yeah, does it, like if you're in the studio and you're like, hey, can you sign this split sheet, bro?
I rolled the blunt. I need 10%.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. I slept on the couch. You know, so
Change a word, get a
yeah,
third.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you handle it, Sudd?
It's a lot of different situations. I guess really, I've been spending time in Nashville over the past 1.5, 2 years.
Cool.
And you know, Nashville splits or pop splits. You know, for the people in the room and working, you know, we're busting everything equally.
Right.
So
That's what pop splits are usually.
yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone who
So
doesn't know.
you know, it was a time and a place where I've, you know, might have gotten beats to an artist, and I told the producer, hey, you know, like to do 5 bits. Let's make some kind of deal happen.
Right.
But now, you know, I think I'm at the place where, like my studio, No Stress Sound Academy, I do camps now, Camp No Stress, and you know, I let people know before they come in, like, you know, I'd love to have you here. I'd love to, you know, put your creativity in this room, but for every record we work on, this is how we're gonna do business.
Sure.
So I kind of.
So you think being upfront about it is
That's
is
how,
best
that's how I
important?
had to learn.
Yeah,
you know,
I've seen records be released and actually succeed, and then people pee all over each other for like 2 years about splits.
Yeah.
You know, like where it's
just
like, oh
happened
no,
to
I
me.
did this and I did that. No, you were out getting coffee.
Yeah,
Right.
there was some things. There's a few records that have been released that, you know, I wish I knew the business a little bit more at the time.
Right.
But that made me get on my P's and Q's even more. It's like, damn,
Right.
this guy's getting paid for doing this. I do this all the time.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right,
So
right.
that's when I had to learn and, you know, ask questions and get educated.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, now I'm not missing out on what I deserve.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jello?
So what, like beyond going to each and every site, are there any tools that we can use to register at the MLC, at CSAC, at, you know, all these multiple organizations that we have to, and then distribute the information to separately to them?
Yeah, that's what I do all day.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay.
So there are tools, like I said, like TuneCore Publishing, like, you know, Songtrust is another one, where it's kind of, you give us the responsibility of what you are tasked with doing in terms of registration. So, you know, we ask for your IPI number, right? You have to have some sort of affiliation with the PRO in order to get those works registered. An IPI number is kind of like your social security number as a musician, as a songwriter. So this unique identifier, and then we can like spray that out, right, to wherever it needs to go. And, you know, it's important also to, I think, mention when you involve a partner, right, who's going to be doing this work for you, like obviously that comes at a cost.
Right.
So it's a 15% commission on royalties we bring in. However, if you were to go and try to register it, like all of these different, it would take you forever, and it's
15% is worth it then.
yeah, like you know, when we, especially with the MLC coming to light, the MLC is a mechanical licensing collective in the U.S. They're designated for digital mechanical royalties.
Right.
Very important. If you don't have an account with them,
Yeah,
you
we
just
need
sign
to
up.
touch on that too.
Yeah.
Sign up.
Yeah, because you'll get money. So, but no, it's work, right, to do all of these different things, which I think we touched on a little bit earlier. And you know, you're basically hiring someone to make sure that it not only happens, but happens correctly.
Right.
That's the only job of a publisher, really, is making sure you get those pennies and dimes, you know.
Right.
And
Everything else is like superlative, whether it's sync or whether it's, you know, creative or any of that stuff. That's like ultimately great customer service, right?
Yeah.
But the only thing that a publisher really needs to do is collect your money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Primarily.
at the very least.
Correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, if we're not doing that, we're not doing our job.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
so I'm like wondering, like, you must do like some deals. All of you guys do deals all the time. Is there any like considerations or things that artists should look at that when a piece of paperwork is tossed in front of them that you look out for? Like maybe red flags or hiccups that you're like, you know, less than decent contracts would include?
If it says in perpetuity, take
Oh,
a
yeah.
second.
Well, back in the day, everything was in perpetuity,
Yeah,
right?
Everything was, but
And
don't do
and
that.
for work for hire or something like that, and we own it, you know.
Yeah, I think the perpetuity thing is interesting though, because I bet like if you've dealt with sync in any way, you know, you do see those come up, especially for like the faster shows that have a ton of episodes and stuff. But like, it's kind of a toss up. And again, I'm going to reference what Becky was saying earlier today, because I think it's one thing to get your foot in the door, and it's another thing to get paid well, and like it's the right
Right.
thing at the right time again. So if something comes in right in perpetuity, like, you know, I mentioned I manage an artist as well, and like he got a sync on a show before we started working together. So the terms, you know, I didn't take a look at before, you know, that happened, but looking at it afterwards, there is a perpetuity clause in there. And honestly, like, you know, maybe this is dicey to say, but sometimes it's worth it. But
if
sometimes
the,
it's
if
really
the show is
not.
being streamed all the time, or is a big enough show, could be a lifetime of of income.
Yeah.
For Friends. I don't know if that was in perpetuity, but it, you know, the main title theme is like
Oh my God,
forever.
Sure it is.
Yeah. You wrote the theme to Dallas.
Falcon Crest.
Yeah. Falcon Crest.
Yeah, so let's move on to like, so we already touched on that. How do metadata and registrations impact your income, and like what's leakage exactly?
Metadata.
The old thing that we always roll back to. And obviously publishing metadata is a lot different from master metadata.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of stuff that link the two together in any logical way yet.
Well, the PROs, and this is no disrespect to anybody on this panel, a lot of the foreign ones as well, like operate on typewriters. So, like, seriously, like there's antiquated technology, none of them speak to each other, there's no standard data format. If a human being gets involved, a 3 might become a 2.
Right.
You know, like there are literally things that add to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars being missing as a result of a human error.
Right.
Right? So, again, like I dig computers, and I think we're getting closer to these solutions with LLMs and AI and so on. Again, not to replace the human creator, but to help the human creator.
Right.
Right? So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're digging through the first level of royalties that might be there, a human can probably deal with it.
Right.
You know, but as you go down in the mine,
Right.
it has to find relationships between songs and writers and stuff, and that's where AI can come in and really help
Right.
sort through data problems that are, you know, beyond what a human being can work through in a day or even a month or a year.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
No, I don't think so.
You got to use it to your
Yeah, so
advantage.
AI, you know, tool or a threat for you, it's probably a great tool, right?
It's a good tool, and like to tie it back to like metadata, like to be as comprehensive as you possibly can. And this is where, if that's not your steez, get a manager to help you, or someone, you know, you can pay them $50 to just get it done. It doesn't have to be so formal, but you know, having the consistency across the master, whatever metadata is there, like you know, TuneCore at the distributor side will require, you know, all of the typical stuff plus contributors, everything that's required by the DSPs. But often, you know, if you don't know your producer's like government name, you know,
Right.
that can be difficult. So, you know, the first thing we were talking about kind of was split sheets and getting
Right.
stuff down on paper. Again, doesn't really have to be so formal, but like it needs to be somewhere.
Right.
So it's the difference between the PROs and collective management organizations in general being able to match revenue to the registration such that they can get it to you. If there's metadata missing, if things go into suspense, if things go into conflict, like that's just all delays into getting you paid. So the more information you have about, like make it easy for them to find you so that you get paid
Right.
faster.
Well, can we touch on misattribution as well? Like, because every PRO and even the MLC have a black box, right? So what is the black box?
Well, we don't have one. No, I'm kidding. You know, so I wanted to kind of talk about the IPI number a little
Let's
bit.
get into it. You can start off whatever you like.
So the IPI number, like Alyssa had mentioned, is that it's your social security number as a songwriter, creator, whatever, but this is globally, right? So if your music is playing in other territories and countries, for instance, GEMA oversees all of, you know, Germany, SACEM is France, you know, PRS is the UK. The way they find you is through that IPI number, and they find your home society with that IPI number. And attached to your IPI base number are all of these other AKAs that get attached to it. So like you said, if you don't have their full name or whatever, as long as you're adding in and making sure that these AKAs are registered and attached to your IPI, that's helpful. But yes, if there's nowhere for this money to go, it's going to go somewhere where it's just held, and after a certain amount of time, it gets sent or given to, you know, and this is more MLC kind of stuff,
Right.
like mechanicals. That's why the MLC was created, and I am not, you know, a part of the MLC,
Right.
but the way it worked pre-January 1st, 2021, before the MLC was created for the US, was this mechanical royalty on the digital side. If the self-administered songwriter or the songwriter themselves, and if they own their own publishing, if it wasn't like claimed by them, it would go into this black box, and after a certain amount of time, it would go to the large publishers and get distributed equally to all of them. You probably know a little more about that, but yes, if it's not claimed after a certain amount of time,
All goes to Taylor Swift.
it all goes
It
to
does.
Taylor
It's
Swift.
gross.
Yes.
But no, it's true. And it's like the point that I made before, like you get asked out of your own money, like it's not in a company who's going to benefit from this' best interest to teach their songwriters that they're to register their stuff, because
Right.
then, you know, it pays for the yacht at the end of the year. It's not good.
Right.
So the black box, you know, exists as just a pool of money that is unidentifiable, and the MLC has done a really great job. We've done partnerships with them in the past, like to try to get this revenue matched with our clients. But it's basically just a way for companies to say, okay, we have this money, come and get it, you know, but again, make it easy to find yourself, and, you know, use an IPI number, et cetera. But that market share piece, I think, is lesser understood, and it's really interesting. So, you know, it's just, especially in the independent space, like,
Right.
you know, it's not as talked about. And, you know, even if you're a big independent publisher, you know, you might have 1% of the market or whatever, and you'd still be entitled to 1% of whatever
100%,
that
yeah.
revenue is. Yeah, and you know, at the MLC when they started, I don't know why we're like, so you should have somebody from the MLC up here. But you know, when they started, they identified $424 million in unclaimed revenue.
Yeah, it's sitting on $1 billion right now.
Yeah, they paid out over 2.7.
Yep.
What's the expiration date like?
So that exactly. So, you know, you mentioned there's a certain statute of time. So the way that it works is a company is legally obligated to try and get this money paid out within a certain agreed upon time. For the MLC, it's 3 years. So if they identify funds within 3 years and you don't get it, they are able to then distribute that money on market share. Some places will do that at 3 years because they have business to run and it's just something that they have to pay someone to do, so they're gonna get it off their books. Some companies will take more time and try to make that effort to, you know, get it paid out outside of that 3 year mark, but they are legally obligated for at least 3 years at the
Right.
MLC. It might be different at other places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost always being liquidated because it's not every 3 years, it's 3 years to the month, so every month there's something happening. But
Yeah.
if you are a major publisher or a big indie publisher, there's really no incentive to find who it's attributed to, because God forbid, the artist or the songwriter might recoup their deal, right? Like, so
And
then
that's not in their best interest.
it's not in their best interest. It's $250 million that goes to your bottom line that's unaccounted for. So don't get me started.
Yeah, so what, I guess, like,
Please.
my big question is for the audience is like, or maybe people don't know, but what are the different types of royalty streams? You know, like there's, you know, master.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have the sound recording royalty, right, which comes from distribution. It's the royalties that people talk about, it like your TuneCore, your DistroKids, your labels. You have performance royalties, which are collected and distributed by a PRO. That money comes from blanket licenses that get issued to DSPs, to venues, et cetera. You have mechanical revenue, which is occurs anytime there's an interactive usage on Spotify. So if somebody selects your song to play, that generates a mechanical royalty. It's also the reproduction of that song in any format. So if you have CD, vinyl, cassettes, hit clips,
Hit clips, yeah.
any. You like that one?
Yeah.
That was a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, but so yeah, you have your sound recording, your mechanical, your performance. You have, you know, royalties that come from UGC content, so your YouTube, your TikTok, your Instagram Reels. Am I missing any? Microsync,
Right.
sync,
Sync.
of course.
Covered them. Wow.
A lot of different licenses.
Print, lyrics, guitar tabs.
Right.
Right.
Grand rights.
I mean,
Grand
that was
rights,
like
yeah.
one of the questions is where do you get money from beyond streaming and beyond looking at sync? And you're
Yeah.
naming some really good stuff. What about like a lot of like, you know, actual physical products that are depending on, you know, music to be within their products, you know,
Yeah.
like you mentioned hit clips, right?
Yeah.
That takes me back to when I was a teenager.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
But, you
Loved
know,
them. I had
you'll
so
be
many.
seeing, you know, obviously physical products with, I mean, I've seen a lot of things that are actually bringing you back to engaging with the physical product through an NFC chip or
Singing is toothbrushes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the singing toothbrush was an example, right?
Yeah,
So-
or like the cards.
Yeah.
At the store when you have a birthday card that like sings or says something.
Right.
There's also a really cool, oh God, what is it called? Kit Better. There's a company out of, is it Japan, China? I can't remember, but they are creating like physical product for, you know, super fans, right? So like there's all these like cool ideas and like things that are happening on a regular basis. But I think vinyl is huge,
Vinyl's
especially
huge,
in
yeah.
rock and indie and like all that kind of stuff. Like
Bands are coming back too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, also like there are some weird like licensing things. Like I had a deal come across my desk recently for similar to cards. It was like birthday bags, like throwaway like gift bags. When you took something out of it, it would like start singing a song. So like there are products out there.
Explodes in your face.
Yeah. Just confetti.
Glitter
like,
everywhere.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there are tons of companies that license music and need it outside of a movie or whatever,
Right.
where you can make money.
Right.
Amazing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. We're doing it right now.
Let's do it.
So like, what do labels and artists and publishers like, Sudd, what do you consider when you're looking at an artist? Is it gut feeling, or do you look at the data too, and is it
My
like
tummy hurts over here
your
versus
tummy
my
hurts
tummy
over here? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the feeling in your chest or whatever, or how are you doing it these days?
That's a good question. I feel like for one, I gotta be a super fan. It's gotta. Let me see. Because I provide services for a lot of artists, but I haven't, let me see, how can I say this? I haven't necessarily wanted to go into business with a lot of artists.
Right.
So I can count on one hand how many artists I've had paperwork with.
Right on.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to spread myself thin. Like for this one artist that I just locked in, it's a guy named Asher Saint. I met him, got familiar with his music like over about a year ago. And, I told him straight up, like, bro, I love your music, but it's going to take some TLC. And I'd love to help. I'm going to help however I can. But honestly, my hands are full with Anella right now. Yeah. And I feel like he deserves my time, my attention. Because like I said, I'm very hands-on. Like from going to shows. I just got back from Toronto 8 a.m. this morning from a show last night. Okay. He has a show in Ohio tonight. I would have gone there, but I already had obligations to be here. And but yeah, I just got I feel like I can know a star within like 3 minutes of talking to you.
Yeah, man.
Before I even hear your music, and I feel like the music is added to it. So when I sat down with him, he was just telling me like, bro, I understood what you told me last year, that you didn't have the capacity to work with me, and I respect that. Didn't want to sign him up for something I couldn't fulfill. But he was like, yo, I got a project in my phone that's going to be worth millions of dollars, and I need help. I feel like you're the person, or if it's not you, somebody's going to reap the benefits of it. So I said, come to the studio. I'd love to hear it. So after like sitting down one-on-one with the artist, and hearing the music, which was amazing, the production, which was amazing, just his vision and what he saw for himself, no matter what, whether it was with me, it's like he knew he was a star. Or he knows he's a star. Cool. So it's like, I get motivated from the artist. You know what I mean? And like, he has like 3,000 followers when we started working.
Okay.
I'm not really a big numbers guy. I'm a talent guy. Right. I can see the future, I feel. I pride myself in being able to go out in my network for DJs and the radio personalities, label executives, and just knowing people, period, that are tastemakers. I can go and help connect these dots to upstream you to the next level. So I guess it's really just got to be something that I believe in, and I feel like the artist, you got to believe in yourself first before anybody else is going to believe in you. But I do feel like I got great taste in music, so if I like your music, I feel like y'all should like the music. And now I just got to get the rest of the world to like the music.
Right on, man.
I think you can't, you have to like it more than your manager, though. Like, your manager should be your #1 fan.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's how I am, too.
I always said I want to be in your band.
Yeah.
Like that's
I'm
our
not in
criteria.
your band, but I want to be in your band.
Now, I'm the backup singer for Anella.
Yeah, exactly.
So people ask my job, so I'm backup.
Should data support our decisions? And what we work
generally,
at? I'll be honest. Let me tell a horror story real quick. Is the last major label that's unnamed that I worked at, a person that I worked with was like, you should hire this kid. He should be your new assistant. I'm like, I don't like him. Like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, you really should do it. He's good with data. And I'm like, oh God. And all the major labels at that time and still like play the artist development game like it's really a stock market ticker.
There's no artist development.
I love you. You stream 30 million streams. Like,
Let's develop that.
It means I love your income, right? Yeah. It doesn't mean that I love you personally. I don't really. So anyway, I did this little test. I got 6 songs on a SoundCloud link from an attorney or a manager. I sent it to this guy, and I'm like, tell me what you think of this. 5 minutes later, it's like, 1 million Instagram followers, this many Facebook likes, this many streams, like all this information. And I'm like, bzzz, come on in here, buddy. And he comes walking in and he sits down and I'm like, so I appreciate all that information. What'd you think about the music? He's like, oh, I didn't listen to it.
Great.
I'm like, okay, cool. check please.
Yeah.
And yeah, I left like 6 months later. Yeah.
That's
I mean, the
disappointing.
thing is that like you could like take a shit on a stage. If you're streaming well, you might actually still get signed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That shit sounds great.
I believe in long term
Totally,
too.
bro.
You know, I want to be in this for a while. I want the documentary to be dope, and I feel like the journey is like the best part of. I think that's the dopest experience. So this me, I feel like I'm different from a lot of people. You know, my lawyer told me like, Sudd, like you love this stuff too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's a gift and a curse. You know what I mean?
I've
That
heard
may
that
be
too,
what
yeah.
has helped me get to where I've got thus far. But it's like I really love music. I really love the people I work with. You know,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, man. I mean, there is no music development, artist development at major labels anymore. Like Jason says, it's got to come in with, X amount of streams and X
started,
amount
there
of
was, like, a
fans and stuff, and
department
then
of
it's like,
30
what do you need the
people.
label for, really?
Yeah.
Let's
I feel
get out the door and do it yourself, right?
The label is effectively a marketing budget.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I say that, take that with a grain of salt. I only work as a publisher. But like, I feel like, it used to be that you would have a key man, somebody said it before, right? Like you have
Mark
somebody,
Eckert.
who is like advocating for you. And if you don't have that, be aware that you don't have that at some of these like artist development companies, people who are trying to capitalize on your success. Use them back. If you have something that they want, get in touch. Who's on your team? Who's on your
Right.
business development team? What kind of things are you doing for your artist that you're wanting to develop? Give me a list.
Right.
Like pull them up on it, because if you're gonna give them part of your business, you should get something in return.
Don't get lost in
Yeah.
there.
And
A lot of people get lost.
They make it hard. They make it difficult on purpose so that they have a better chance of getting what they want.
The man.
Yep.
Yeah.
No one will work harder for you than you.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay,
I'm
you
a
can ask
biggest
a million
advocate.
people to help you.
Yeah.
Right.
But I
I
think
agree with
I think the point I'm trying to illustrate is like these things are happening and they're not that great, right?
Right.
But how do you work with it?
Yeah.
How do you make it work for you?
Yeah, 100%. Well, God willing, everyone will have that opportunity to say yes or no, right, at some point. I'm a big proponent of having worked at major labels for 25 years. I love being independent. And the long tail, the independent space, is overtaking the major label space.
Yeah.
So like
major
let's not-
labels are living in an independent world.
Yeah, let's not discount what we do as independents even, right? Like I think it's incredibly important. Let me ask this. Is music distribution artist development at the end of the day? It's not, right?
No. Music
Okay.
distribution is how you get your music out.
Indeed. Okay, so how can it be utilized as a artist development tool? Because no one's really involved but the artist and maybe their small team, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there are people or there are companies who are doing things right to try to bolster that. Like
Right.
one of the things that we do on the distribution side at TuneCore is we have this program called Accelerator. So Accelerator is a way to sort of utilize the way that Discovery Mode works on Spotify, but then also we have our own proprietary algorithm that we pull in and take out songs as they continue to succeed or not.
Oh, awesome.
So you can capitalize on like what fans will consume the most based on this technology. And we've seen that a lot of success with that. So I think,
Fantastic.
yeah, as much as, like I'm emotionally like, no, distribution is not
Yeah.
artist development
Yeah.
because like people are overpromising left and right.
Right, of course they are.
If there are tools at your disposal that those distributors have,
Right.
you have to make use of them. It's like one of the best things, and this is like tangential to the conversation, but one of the best things I heard ever at any panel, conference, whatever, it applies across. When Instagram uses or releases a feature, right, or TikTok releases a feature, the people who use that feature, their content gets boosted, right, over
right.
people who don't utilize the new features. So it's kind of the same thing, whether it's distribution or any other service. If somebody has a feature, interact with it, and then you might get a little bit more attention. You know what I mean? So I think that's something to
Fantastic.
keep in mind.
That's great. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah.
So we have 10 minutes left. Should we open it up to questions? You guys have been wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you having fun?
I mean,
Yeah.
I am. I'm having a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'd love to have you in our studio sometime and joke around.
Oh, we're going to do it, for
Yeah.
sure. Both
Actually, I want to amend what I said earlier. No one will work harder for you than you and Sudd.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I was thinking through everything he was saying, and I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that was
you
great.
really do
You guys all
work
have
hard.
contributed some really amazing stuff. So,
I mean, there's more questions, but I'd rather open it to the floor and see if anybody has any queries for us.
right. Anybody?
Hey, what's up?
You use your pointer, Joel, so we don't interrupt you pointing.
What?
You can point.
Point at what?
People.
Oh, I don't point. How's it going?
Hey, my name is Brett Menz. I'm studying recording production at Appalachian State, And I had a question for Sudd. So you just mentioned about signing an artist and telling him straight to his face, like, hey, I love your music. I think it needs a little more TLC to get it to where we want it to go. And I was just wondering what your role is in that, in kind of helping him and encouraging him. Like, how do you get him to develop his sound, kind of sculpt his place in the industry?
So this one artist I was talking about, it wasn't necessarily help with his sound, but I guess more so the business, the look, the relationships, and most importantly, I feel is the fan base. You know what I mean? Like, really, I'm still a firm believer in guerrilla marketing, you know? And also, the very, very important thing is a lot of this stuff costs money, whether it's gas money to go here, to get here today, or whether it's hotel rooms to go to a conference in Tennessee or whatever. So it's like I didn't have the capacity to do that at the moment. You know, I had my funds were maybe tied up into the other artists I was working with at the time, and really the team. I feel that is very important. So I still building a team for one artist. I'm building a whole separate team for another artist now, just so nobody's spreading themselves too thin. And I definitely don't want to spread myself too thin because I'm a father as well, and I travel, and I'm an artist as well, you know. But I guess to answer your question a little bit more, I do have a lot of producers, you know, and even that costs, whether we're going to Atlanta or we're going to Greensboro or New York or whatever, to link this artist with this producer or to introduce this artist to this DJ. I'm still a very firm believer in DJ and artist relationships, you know. But yeah, that's really what I'm meaning, is just all around, all these things that I feel an artist needs. It's kind of, I don't like saying a kid, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, artists like your kid, but it's like my little brothers. You know what I mean? So
You gotta take
it's
them around and
everything from
introduce
clothes, the way they're getting dressed. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to make sure, hey, they eating. You know what I mean? Like, for real, this thing is tough being an independent artist. It's tough being a signed artist out here once you done ran through your budget.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like just all those things, being able to like take care of a whole nother person, like to mentally and everything. So, yeah.
Cool. Great answer.
That makes sense to you?
Hey there, I have a question about royalties. I play a lot of open mics in the area, and a couple of times I've heard kind of whispers of, hey, don't play any covers because we're not sure that they have, you know, royalties at this venue or whatever, royalties covered at this venue. Or even if you play your own stuff, you still have to have the royalties covered. So can you elaborate, you know, how do I know when I'm an open mic I'm not doing something not cool because of royalties?
I'm assuming this is geared towards me. So, you know, it's a law that when music is publicly performed, that it should be paid a performance royalty. Now, the gray area is whether or not that place that you're performing it is licensed. If you're performing your own music, you know, that you have created yourself, you would most likely, if you're affiliated with a PRO, go and register those live performances with the set list of your unique works, not covers, and your PRO would pay you for those. That happens, you know, in other territories as well. And basically, if that place is licensable, meaning it's not a school or a church or, you know, something like that, then they should be paying license if they have live music being performed or just, you know, music being played to people. So you're not in trouble necessarily for doing that. It's just trying to make sure that places that are playing music or having music performed publicly are paying for a license so that the performers and the people who create those songs can be paid. It's, you know, saying someone's in trouble for that is, you know, I don't know if that's completely accurate, if that makes sense, because this is the law, you know, across the United States.
Give me their names.
The onus is on the venue.
It is.
Yeah.
It's on the venue to pay that, you know, license. So
There should be somebody roaming around giving the license, asking the venue for the license.
Right.
I know, that's their job, is
Yeah,
is
they're like the
enforcement.
BMI cops who
Yeah.
like knock down the bar door.
They
and are
do.
like,
You'll see a
"Hey."
little sticker on the
Yeah.
outside that says they're
And
for
you'll
license
see
and
there'll
stuff.
be like a
Yeah.
sometimes
That's my sticker.
I've seen the
sticker.
I've seen the stickers.
you know, and if it is a licensable venue and one of our songwriters is performing in there and they submit a live performance and the place is consistently playing music, we will contact them about paying for a license if they aren't already set up. And this is a scale. Not everybody's going to pay the same amount. Like Madison Square Garden is, paying a different amount than Joe's Cafe or something. Or so,
Right.
yeah.
How does that relate to like when a DJ is at a club?
That's different. Like that's tough. Like I don't. That is that DJ would have to go in and register live performances of those set lists. So those typically don't get, I guess, submitted for that, and it's pretty hard to find those and figure out what was played even.
Yeah, it's
You
kind of
know?
antithetical to DJing because
Yeah.
it's so vibe, it's so moment,
Right.
And then you have
Stop
to
and
like,
scratch it down.
yeah. But I think there are some companies that are kind of like rising up to sort of answer that need.
Right.
I couldn't tell you names of them right now, but I
Yeah,
was
there's a
reading about
few recording things or not recording
Audio,
things.
Audio doing that?
Audio, yeah.
They have
and
like a
both
listener,
boxes.
right?
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
like an electronic monitor.
Yeah,
that
to
they're
put
putting
into
into
retail
venues.
stores.
yeah, it just does the
Kind of
auditing.
like Nielsen, old school.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay. Wonderful.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm
Jamie.
with JMB Media Group. Thanks. And so I had two questions. The first one is to Alyssa. For your services of getting your music registered for through TuneCore, does the artist have to have their music distributed through TuneCore in order to get them registered, to register the music?
Technically speaking, no. It's kind of socialized that like our customers can benefit from also adding on this service, right? So if you're distributing, it's really easy for you to just add on publishing, right? Like the analogy I like to use is you don't let a car leave the lot without insurance, right? So it's like if you're distributing, you're selling a car, you're also covering publishing, aka insurance. But no, if you wanted to use TuneCore Publishing as a songwriter who is releasing with DistroKid, or you have a label and no publisher deal, like there's no reason you can't use the service.
Okay, good. You don't want us to go over to Songtrust, do you?
No.
Okay. So then my second question was about royalties, and just wanted to find out how can artists recoup, if they can, back royalties from streaming, because I've heard that they really can't. And then how would they get royalties from radio spins?
Depends on the source and territory. So in the US, you can audit BMI back 6 months, 18 months.
Yes.
There's a,
I mean,
sure.
CSAC is different.
yeah, what's yours?
That could, it depends on if we have the data.
Yeah.
And if, the data we receive, because we get it from different providers, right? Different organizations or companies are, giving us data, tracking data for like radio, streaming, all of these things. And if that song or the recording is not linked properly, or it's not encoded with that data or whatever it is, or not registered yet with the PRO, we can go back, sometimes up to 2 years, but how good that data is dependent on, whether or not it has been linked properly. And I say that, and I know that it's probably going over some people's heads. But live performances, we give our affiliates a year to register those live performances, and it doesn't matter the venue size or anything like that. So you have a year to register live performances with us for us to pay. I think TV and cue sheets, that type of stuff, 2 years.
Longer tail,
we
yeah.
can go back because it takes a while sometimes for the data to reach us. That's also another issue, trying to get it to us as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do what we can for our affiliates to go back as far as we can.
And if you're starting day one, like it's best to get the registrations in, because every day you lose is a like lesser day of retroactive collection, right? So, we talked about the MLC before, collecting this $424 million initially. If you were to register your song for the first time with us, no previous publishing history, and there were royalties to be collected, we can get them, certainly. But there are, variances in, how far you can go back on for revenue generated from iTunes versus Spotify versus Deezer versus, whatever. Then you have the layer of making sure that the information is getting from point A to point B. And then you have the processing time. So it takes a while, and I think a good rule of thumb, if you're curious about if there's money out there for you and if it's recoupable, kind of two different things, but a good rule of thumb is if you're making $1,000 in distribution revenue, right? So it's from your sound recordings, generally speaking, and assuming you own 100% on each side or a corresponding amount on each side, you can expect anywhere from 15 to 20% in increase in additional revenue from publishing. So if that's not shaken out, you can call your publisher. You can say, hey, can you check into why I'm not getting what I think I'm supposed to be getting, and then we can do an audit. But there are a lot of different factors, and again, it's complicated on purpose. There are a lot of different factors that feed into when and why, something will come through or not. Short answer, your publisher's job is to make sure that the royalties are coming in properly. So if you have questions, ask. Be like, hey, I'm curious about this. What about the royalties that are coming in from, I don't know, Morocco or whatever?
Look at your statements.
Oh, yeah.
Too. Don't just assume that it's going to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you have an administrator or publisher, take a look at them every quarter or monthly if it's happening monthly.
Missing songs entirely.
Yeah, you look at your catalog, make sure it's showing up in there, whatever platform it is that it's on. So just look at the statements, please.
To that point, also, another analogy I like to use is, are you guys familiar with the high yield savings account? Okay, so a lot of times people will just open one and then not fund it, right? So you can sign up with a publishing administrator, but if you don't register your songs, you're not going to earn anything, right? So you have to make sure that you're covering the bases, and it's not just someone's got it now,
To put the information in the platform and use the tools.
Yeah, which seems silly to say, but it's true. I can't tell you how many people I email every day of hey, you never.
Does it fall off a lot, with the MLC, or does it get to a certain point and people are like, "What's the MLC?"
I think people are constantly asking that question, but that's not the be all end all. Right. Certainly, that's just one of over 240 sources that exist in the world that have revenue for you potentially. Right. So.
Cool. I saw a hand over here.
Hi, my name's Wesley. My question is more geared toward Alyssa. I was wondering kind of what a pub admin's role is in sync, both as far as pre-clearance when stopping goes, as well as when there's a licensing request actively on the table. Because I know that you mentioned that TuneCore takes a 15% commission.
On royalty collection, yeah.
Okay, and whether that constitutes a publishing split or not.
So when you say publishing split, you mean just the ownership of the composition? Yeah, so if, say you own a song at 100% and you want to register it with us, we would keep 15% of whatever that revenue is, so 15% of that 100%. If you owned 50%, we would keep 15% of that 50%. It's nothing to do with anyone who we don't represent as a writer. But to your initial question, sync licensing is something that we can assist with. We're more reactive than proactive on the TuneCore side. TuneCore is also owned by a company called Believe Digital. You might have seen in the press, we just announced Believe Publishing in the States. So, there are certain things that exist at a sort of premium level, right, where we can proactively pitch and we can, we have lots of really great relationships with music supervisors and sync houses and stuff. But at the TuneCore level, if somebody comes to us with a deal, right, a music supervisor says, hey, you're listed on the registration at CSAC, wherever, can you approve this for us? Our role in that is to say, TuneCore represents Wesley at 100% for this track. If you want to take it to negotiation, here's his contact. We can paper if we need to, but.
Cool. So laissez-faire, but you will collect the royalties that spin off of it, obviously.
Yeah, because there's the fee, right, for sync, which might, I don't know, easy numbers, $1,000 or whatever. But then, if your song is in a show that goes into syndication, and there's a royalty that comes from that, those royalties get collected by a publishing administrator. If we paper a deal on your behalf for sync, we would take a commission on that fee, that $1,000, call it. Mm-hmm. But if we don't paper that deal for you, then we are not party to that fee at all. Yeah.
The publisher negotiates the sync fee. Right? And
But the
you-
administrator only handles the paperwork. So we are not a sync, like we are not negotiating necessarily on behalf of our clients for sync at this time. We used to, but we don't do that anymore.
I think we need to wrap it up, actually.
Yeah, no, this was fantastic. So we got Sudd, we got Diana, we got Alyssa. That's Joel. I'm Jason, and you're wonderful.
Yeah, and this is Music Twindustry from Charlotte. And thanks for having
Thanks
us,
for having us.
Confluence. I appreciate
Go see some shows tonight.
Yeah.
Hell
A lot
yeah.
of great bands playing.
Yeah, we'll see you out there. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, everyone.